Good morning from sacred space at Titania's realm. This is Tanya Aarons coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. And this is Charlie. Charlie's been up the tree having tree time. And then I decided to make my usual, daily vlog. And yes, here we are, having cuddles, aren't we, Charlie? It's a lovely day today. It's 1:37 p.m. on the 18th of November 2023. And not as windy as it was yesterday. It was very blustery, witchy wind. So I went dancing last night, as I usually do on a Friday night. And there was a lot of love in the room, but a little bit too much attention from a young Māori man who was only 39. And I told, we befriended each other and we were sitting nicely together. And I actually told him, he said, first thing off the starting gate, no holds barred, straight up, right in your face. Have you got a husband? Have you got a boyfriend? No. Why haven't you got a husband or a boyfriend? Don't want one. It's like, what? Yeah. Oh, you sure you haven't got a husband or a boyfriend? And I was sitting there pondering it, like, do I have a husband or a boyfriend that no one told me about? Am I in some surrealist hell loop? Is this actually hell? So I'm sort of trying to reframe my brain a bit, thinking, well, come on, seriously. So anyway, young one says to me, oh, I'm 39. I went, well, I'm 58 and I'm far too old for you. Number one. Number two, this is my club where I come to play. This is my dance space. This is where I come to let out all my stress in my dance zone and my trance. I said, I do not come here to hook up. Like, I told him that very distinctly. I said, you will not see me here hooking up with anyone. I said, it's not you, it's me. So anyway, he still had to push the envelope a bit. It was actually quite charming for quite a while. We actually got up and he was a metalhead, so we were after a couple of the songs. And the lovely security guard was watching me like a hawk, which I was, making eye contact, letting him know that I knew that he was looking after me, which I deeply appreciate. And there were a couple of women, observing this young Māori man dancing me that were a bit freaked out by his wildness. But he was Māori, he's young, he's passionate, he's wild, he's free. I like people to be passionate and wild and free. But they're not allowed to, try and slather all over me sexually, right? So anyway, we sit back down, and we're chatting. And he said he comes from Wanganui. And he was so cute the way he said it. He was singing, Wanganui, Wanganui, Wanganui. And I was laughing. I'm like, Wanganui, man. He was kind of funny. But the trouble is, you see, again, another idiot thinking he can have an instant relationship with me based on what? You meet a woman once, you haven't even bothered to ask her for a drink or invite her out on a date or pursue anything meaningful, and straight the hands start straying, right? And I got angry about that. I mean, why would I get angry about that, people? All the women watching YouTube are all like, I hear you, sister, I hear ya. And all the men are like, why are you angry? Why won't you have sex with us? We're so adorable. Please take us on. Nope. I'm done with bullshitters. So anyway, the hilarious thing was, young Kerry and I go and get a drink, and Kerry goes to get a drink with me, and we come back and, we were dancing. We were actually having a nice time before he got lascivious. I said to him, actually, I said, look, I completely understand it, actually. I said, it's the nature of the beast. I said, you're a real man, you're Māori, you're passionate, you're young. Of course, you're going to push the envelope, but you're not going to get anywhere with me. You're going to be bitterly disappointed. And he looks at me, I said, look, love, I said, there's a whole club full of women here. Some of them might actually really like to go home with you. I said, I don't know, because I don't know these people, but I said, you need to get up on your feet, go around the club, talk to everyone, and find yourself a woman closer to your age who's more than willing to go home with you. I said, because I'm not. I said, no offence, it's not you, it's me. I said, you won't find me hooking up with any of the men here. I said, this is where I come to dance and have a wild, old, lovely time. I said, I'm too old and too tired for that shit. Anyway, he nodded, he took it very well, and he did. He wandered off, tuned up all the women in the room, and I was actually quite relieved, actually, because I thought, good. Find someone your own age. Like, what is this lascivious wanting to royal over a woman old enough to be your mother? He's, my girlfriend's 17 years older than me, was ex-girlfriend. I said, yeah, well, that's fine. That worked out for you and her for a while, but don't bring it to me. I'm not going there, mate. So here's where it gets weird. He goes off, disappointed, really looking quite disappointed because he was really into me, or whatever. I mean, they're into any woman with a vagina and a pulse, aren't they? It's not actually all that flattering when they're that lascivious. So anyway, so off he goes, and I was pleased about that. That shows a mark of respect that he's accepted that it's not going to happen and moved on, And so I get up to dance again, and there was a very handsome older Māori man that had been quietly observing me interacting with this young one. And he actually had a bit of dignity and a bit of couth to him. He seemed a nice man, right? But I wasn't going to flirt with him. I was just happened to be standing beside him as I moved in for the dance. Anyway, here's where I got a little bit triggered, because it's the same modus operandi of someone else recently. It must be new age lingo for do you want to fuck or something. And, we're supposed to all fall over into paroxysms of orgasmic frenzy and just open all ours, right? No, you're dealing with the wrong woman here, if that's what you think. Sorry. So anyway, but this nice, dignified, quite handsome Māori gentleman, probably closer to my age, I think he would have been in his late 40s. So that would not have been creepy to my mind, 10 years. I don't mind if they're 10 years younger, but when it gets to I could be rocking them and kissing them, putting them in their cradle to bed and wiping their ass. No, not doing it. So anyway, Actually, the security guard did see me getting a little bit irritated with the young Māori guy, and I actually did that. I'm looking at the security, I'm like, oh, my little baby. Because that's how I kind of non-verbally, say this is getting a bit fucking weird, okay? So actually the young security guard came over and said to young Kerry, he said, don't be annoying the ladies or you'll have to leave, or we'll have to kick you out, and looks at me meaningfully. And I nodded. And I really appreciated him telling him that, because there was a level of craziness to him that was a bit of a concern, He told me he has ADHD, and I don't judge, because I got my issues too. I told him, I said, I got off all my psych meds in 2016 in early June. I said, I never looked back. But I said, all this drinking and taking drugs is not good for your ADHD, mate. Oh, which it isn't. But anyway, so so he was actually put in his place twice by me and by the security guard before I said, look, go be free. Go talk to all the other women. There may be someone that wants you tonight. You know, just because I don't want you doesn't mean someone else isn't going to want you. Like, this is the thing. It's the numbers game. Sooner or later you meet someone that's just mad for you. Hell, even I might meet someone that I'm completely lose my bottle over. That would be frightening. I did do that once and it was not good. Not good. But anyway, sooner or later you find the one, right? Anyway, I go back to this. When I got up to dance, this older Maori man that was quietly observing me, you know, they have me a bit under a microscope, you know, they're studying me and learning, like on YouTube, you know, my stalkers studying me and learning which buttons to push and my triggers and which trigger will get me to fire off with them sexually, right? Good luck with that. It does happen. It has been known to happen in the past, but I'm older now. I know when I'm being played. So anyway, this nice Māori man says to me, like, I have to laugh. It's actually comical, given recent events. It's actually hilarious. So he looks at me all seductively and very, very dignified. Now, that man was completely fuckable because his style was dignity, but honouring, but a bit kind of, what have we got here? He had that je ne sais quoi, right? Which that will tantalise me, a man that's got je ne sais quoi. And because I'm actually a complex bundle of frickin' limbic nervous system activation and a little bit of human desire that's slowly blossoming out again after decades. So, you know, be fair. Let's be fair here. So anyway, this nice man looks at me and he says, I can't say it without laughing every fucking time. Sorry, I've got to be serious. Be serious, Tony. Be serious. So he's looking at me like, looks over at the young one that I've sent on his way, you know, looks at me, he says, I'm triggered, but it's funny triggering. He says to me, I can't say it without laughing. This is how ridiculous my life has been in recent weeks. Breathe, Tanya. Breathe, Charlie. So he looks at me and says, you have a high vibration. And I'm like, oh, do I? And I'm trying not to lose my shit and laugh, which, by the way, I handled it very well in the club, you know. And I said, oh, do I? He said, oh, yes. I'm just standing next to you and it's intense. I can feel it from here. And I'm in my brain, I'm hearing ding, 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 like a fire alarm. Because the last gentleman that I actually did meet in a public space used that line on me, right? And I'm like, is this the new line? The new age, new line hotline to try to get into the inner recesses of the Tanya's sacred space and her sacral chakra to try and woo her heart chakra that is so glued together and molten with kintsugi spiritual gold and duct taped and pulled apart and rebuilt and duct taped. Like, honestly, it's a carapace creature of like loveliness, but it's difficult to break through those walls when you've played me like a motherfucker. Just saying. So this nice man who would have been, unbeknownst to him, not realise that those words were not exactly music to my ears given recent frottering game playing. So I said, oh really? It's intense, is it? And he's like, oh, yes. And then he ran away. And I'm like, watching him go. And I'm just dancing to the music and I'm like, yeah, bye-bye. Bye, fool. I mean, I didn't actually do that, but I'm thinking that in my head. Oh, yeah. Bye, fool. So anyway, I watched him and he went off to flirt with other women in the club, you know. He didn't bother me again, that man. He was actually a nice man. He wasn't a game player. He was just decided that my energy was too much for him because he was standing next to me while I was dancing, darling, dancing. Oh my goodness. So anyway, so then the other thing I observed was another Maori man who's a regular there that is very, very shy, and he dresses like a 12-year-old boy. He always wears these weird shorts and the t-shirt. But he's very shy, and I can see he's very nervous, very, very gentle person. Might actually be a nice man, actually, but he weirds me out because he's always in my orbit. I turn around and he's there, or I look over and he's there. And he also, had watched me with young Kerry, and which I was deeply amused by because I could see they're thinking, this is not going to go good because she doesn't really invite that kind of attention, and she's going to have to annihilate him, and we better keep an eye on her, which was good. It was actually good. So that man was actually being a sweetheart in a way, being a bit protective, and young Kerry was toasting him and fist pumping him and doing all the male displays of, I'm safe and I'm a nice guy and don't worry about me kind of thing. And the older man's just looking at me like this, this is not going to go good, Tanya. So anyway, it didn't go good in the end, did it? Because men that can't take no for an answer, it doesn't go good. And the other problem I have is men in general in the casino, live wire bar and in the club scene assume that I'm a dominatrix, which I am not. I'm not interested in dominating anyone. I'm not into kink. I'm not into BDSM. I'm actually a decent, honourable woman. But I'm powerful in my core, and I don't tolerate shitheads. So they think, oh, she's out to control me. That they're actually a bit fucked up, quite frankly. They're mentally deranged. There's a club for that. There's an entire industry for that BDSM shit, where weak, submissive men slather around and women just torture them. Tortured, but in a confined, safe, contained way, right? That's why that needs to be managed properly, because those kind of men that like to be tortured are actually disturbed on some level. And then they've got the arrant chutzpah of wanting to start things with me. And it's like, no, I'm not there for that. I'm not there for the hooking up, and I'm not there for the psychosexual domination BDSM shit, because I actually find that disgusting. I was raised by people like that. My family friend, close family friends, one was actually a dom, and and that's okay. That's how she made her living. No judgment. But, at 18, when I was engaged to be married to my husband, first thing she said to me was, when your marriage fails, and it will, come and see me, I'll teach you everything I know. So I was deeply insulted by that as a young woman about to marry a man that I thought was a nice man and I was going to have a happy life with. I should have listened to her. That should have been a career path for me. Because apparently I'm so good at it. These men are still living out that fucking fantasy with me. It's disturbing. So what happened was I'm dancing wildly. This is towards the end of the night. Now, bear in mind, I got in there late. I was there at 11, but I was stuck in the queue till 11:45. So I missed out on an hour of the music, my favourite band play, which I was a bit disappointed about, actually, but you can't do anything about it. It was busy last night. But I was annoyed that I was stuck in that fucking queue for nearly an hour. There's nothing I can do to change that culture. It is what it is. So, but anyway, so the night's worn on, and I've sent Kerry off into the void of the the damaged and the deluded to go trawling for his route for the night, right? Oh dear goddess, it's degrading. And so, and the other man is Maori man that was quite nice, was also took off to do his trawling, and I'm like, oh, that's good because I'm not there for that. So so it's like 1 o'clock or 1:30 in the morning, and the music is built up, into the crescendo that I need to get into my trance zone, and I'm in full shamanic trance. I mean, I was actually in full trance, like I was actually, spatially out of. It's hard to explain, but my spirit leaves my body, and like my body will be like really going for it, but I'm actually floating and I'm in another altered space, right? Which is the whole point of why I dance like that, because it's cathartic and it's healing for me. And but it's not wise to grab me or touch me when I'm in that state, because I'm not fully integrated. You know what I mean? Like the body, mind, spirit is I'm actually outside, floating amongst the dimensions, and I like that. It's a sacred space in my psyche where I am gathering information, not consciously, but beneath consciousness, in my psyche, right? It's very cathartic and healing for me, and that's why I do that. So I had a woman sitting beside me, and she was dancing in her seat. She was a little bit crazy too, quite frankly, but nice enough, like not harmful. And young Kerry comes back and puts his hand across her to touch hands with me like that. And I'm just, he's back, Jesus, But I was polite because we had befriended each other and had been talking to each other early in the evening. And he had listened when I said, go and find yourself a woman, don't annoy me, So we touched hands, which is harmless enough. And I turned to the woman beside me and I said, had to throw that one back to the dating pool. And she laughed. I said, too much heat in that kitchen. She giggled too. Anyway, she gets up and moves away, to dance. Charlie, don't do that. And so I'm back in my zone, moshing wildly, and young Kerry grabbed me on the ass. Like not really grab, but put his hand on my bottom, which enrages me when a man touches my bottom, touches me sexually at any time without my permission. And so it was the second time he tried to put his hand on me, but he actually, because I was in my zone, not really paying attention, I hadn't really noticed that he was right up beside me. So he puts his hand on my ass, and without even turning to look at him, I just went whack and belted him one. And I thought, oh, Jesus, here we go. So I kept dancing a few more seconds, about 5 more seconds, and then I just looked at him from underneath my eyes like that. And he's like looking at me, and I just shot him my look, which Māori men know what that look means, because Māori men are warriors by nature. And he looked at me and he screams out in front of the whole fucking club, you can punish me anytime you like, Tanya. I would love you to punish me. Implying that I'm a dominatrix, right? So I just looked at him like this and turned away in disgust and just kept dancing. And I think he left after that. And so he's misjudged me, hasn't he? Like the other dumb motherfucker that tried to tune me up recently. They've misjudged me. They think I'm some dirty, desperate, pathetic, hole with a goal, some whore, some dominatrix, dominatrixes, by and large, don't have sex with their clients, by the way. That's very unusual and rare because it's all about control, containment, the pain quotient, because these men that are attracted to that are working out their own tormented childhoods. I had a tormented childhood. I have no desire to inflict pain on other people because of the pain that was inflicted on me, right up until recent memory. That's not my bag, people. It doesn't stimulate me, doesn't turn me on. You bring pain to me and I will go berserk. That's how I am. So... anyway, so young Kerry Mr. left, and I just continued dancing. And it wasn't, the band was on the last few songs anyway, because it was nearly 2 o'clock by then. So anyway, the sweet thing that happened was I left the club, because it was time to go home. When the band finishes, I usually leave when the band... Sometimes I stay a bit longer if I think I'm over the limit, want to wait a bit longer so it's safe to drive. But usually I go, as soon as the band finishes at 2, right? And I was wearing my stiletto heels, which were agonising and were a big mistake actually, but I looked lovely. I do look lovely when I wear my stilettos. I can hardly fucking walking to the club from the uptown parking building. It was agonising. Every inch was like, I felt like the Little Mermaid because I haven't worn high heels in months, And so I was crawling up the street, navigating. And this young couple coming past me said to me, "Oh, you look so gorgeous." And I said to the young woman, I said, "I'm crippled in these shoes. They were a bad choice. I'm going to be sorry." But the funny thing is, once I'm in the club and I'm dancing and I've had a couple of drinks, I forget about how painful the shoes are. So as a consequence, I'm having trouble walking today and my feet are swollen and I'm in a lot of pain. So I don't need to be a dominatrix for anyone else. I already self-harm with my bad shoe choices, right? So here's the funny thing. So I get out of the club and the young security guard, I must find out his name. I might have known his name at some stage, but I've forgotten it. But the one that was very protective of me and lovely and told this young Maori man already, any trouble with the ladies, you'll have to go, which is fair enough. Because I myself had told him, I'm not interested in having sex with you or anyone here in the club, I mean, it could happen one day, but it hasn't happened in 10 years, so it's not likely to happen now, right? It's not what I go there for. So anyway, so he's standing on duty at the front of the club as you exit out. So I looked at him and I went, "Thank you for having my back earlier tonight. I really appreciate it." He said, "Oh no, that's okay. Tanya," he said, "Brisbane men," he said, "they're getting bad." He said, "They're so desperate." This is coming from a young security guard, I said, "Have you travelled widely?" I said, "I think you'll find that no matter where you go in the world, all the men are the same way." He said, "No, it's particularly bad in Brisbane." He said, "And it's not real good when I work down in the Gold Coast either." He said, "The men are desperate, Tanya." He said, "It's full on." And I went, "Yes, I've noticed it's full on." I said, "I'm having trouble navigating it actually. So I appreciate you protecting me, I really do, He's a lovely young man. Mind you, I protected his back when they had the pile on about a month or so. There was a brawl and he was the only one on the floor at that point in time and they all jumped on him. I thought they're going to kill him. So I was trying to pull people out. That was a bit crazy on my part. But again, I went into full-blown protective Mama T warrior goddess mode. Because what are you going to do in a crisis? Stand back and let someone get murdered in front of your eyes? Have some balls, people. Take responsibility for your space. Protect others, I can't stand weak people that sit back and let other people get harmed and brutalised because that used to happen to me many, many times, too many times. That's why I am the complex piece of craziness that I am now, right? Too many times have I had to fight for myself without any support or protection from others to back me up. It was really harrowing and, deeply, deeply the most wounding part of all was when someone's strangling you and there's people standing in the opposite apartment, opposite, watching and drinking like it was a floor show. That's what I went through that night at Wynnum. That was awful, how I was treated. So anyway, I digress. So I'm standing outside and I've thanked the young security guard, and then Scott and the other band members, Luke and Paulie, come up. They're leaving the club to pack up the car with their equipment and go home, right? And Scott's he's such a lovely friend. He just looked at me and the look on his face, he went through all these emotions that I was still there, because he'd seen me exit the building. Elvis has left the building, babies. And so I'm looking at him because I was surprised that he'd come up just as I was leaving too, because usually I leave and I don't see them till the following fortnight when they're back playing. So we're looking at each other like this. And then this other nice man that used to be a regular, well, probably still is a regular at Irish Murphys, but I know him from Irish Murphys. He's looking at me like this. And so it was actually quite sweet because we all know each other. And so we've got this kind of kinship after, 13 years of dancing out in the music scene, right? So it's lovely. It's like having family in a way, As I say, I'm always looking for my tribe and my family and people who see me and treat me with honour and respect and integrity and don't play fucked up psychosexual games with me which unhinge me and make me livid beyond belief. And, are just genuinely heartfelt and sweet and, authentic and caring, So Scott looks at me and I go over to him and I put my arms around him and I said, "Hi, bub." And he looked at me because he's younger than me, so I'm deliberately letting him know, I do love you, but, I'm trying to back off on the flirtiness because, it goes nowhere. He's a married man. And, let him know every now and then. I let him know, could be my son, kind of thing. And so he looked at me all surprised and a bit hurt, like this. And the other guy, I think his name's Glenn, was watching me like a hawk, actually. He'd been watching me throughout the night too. And so I could see he kind of likes me, but it's just innocent because we've been in the scene for years, So anyway, I said, Scott said, "Did you have a good night?" And I said, "Yes, I did have a good night." But I said, "I wore the wrong shoes and now I'm crippled and I'm too old for this shit." And he says, "Oh, you're never too old, Tanya." And I said, "No," I said, "I told Juddy last week and Juddy said he was too old for this shit." I said to Juddy, I said, "Never quit, never cede, never yield." I said, I was too old for this shit 10 years ago and I'm still doing it. And then Scott said, "Oh yes, I love that, Tanya, how you never quit, never cede, never yield." And we were like laughing, And Glenn's listening in actually avidly, watching how we talk to each other, probably trying to figure out if there's something going on, which there isn't, nothing like that. So anyway, so I'm looking at this other fellow, and then he was teasing. Scott said, "Oh, I used to busk outside the Victory in the 90s." And then Glenn goes, "Yeah, I used to wear Speedos." And for a joke, I said, "Man," I said, I was busy raising children in the 90s, but if I'd known you were busking out there in your Speedo, Scott, I would have been there every weekend looking at you. And he's just laughing. And then Glenn goes, yeah, he said, you might have even brought the kids. And I went, yeah, we would have been all camped out there listening to the music, eyeing off Scott. And Scott went, I made good money in those days, Tanya. I said, I bet you did, baby. We were like laughing, And then he said some joke to the Glenn, like something along the lines, oh, Glenn swings both ways. He's something like implying that he'll go with men and women. But I think he was just stirring him up. And so Glenn kind of looks at me and I went, oh, really, Glenn? Is that something we need to know about you? And even he started to laugh because I knew they were just, how men wind each other up when they're mates, And I was like laughing. So anyway, without even saying goodbye to them, because I could see he wanted to talk to his other people leaving the club and other friends, So I walked across the laneway and I start taking off my shoes because, enough torture, enough is enough. And so I'm trying to undo the little bow in front and unzip the shoe, and I've got my leg cocked up and I'm struggling with it. I mean, if I was a real dom femme fatale, I just would have held my leg out and said, boys, unzip my shoes, which there was a time back in Irish Murphy's days when I used to do that. It just is a big fucking wind-up, and you'd get all these men like, whoosh, and they'd be like unzipping my shoes, and it was actually quite lovely, but I'm not fully integrating that persona anymore because I'm not a dominatrix and I don't get paid for that shit. And why should I give away all my powerful warrior goddess attributes for free to nincompoops that just go home and sprog in their socks, right? I can't be bothered. I don't have time for that shit. I'm too old and too tired and a little bit bitter, to be honest. A little bit bitter now after the way I've been maltreated. So anyway, so I'm doing my own independent woman thing and undoing my shoe and struggling to get it off. And this voice yells out, what are you doing with the shoes, Tanya? And it's Scott looking at me and everyone else in the group around, all looking at me. And I went, oh, honey, I said, all glamour dies at 2 a.m. And they all just burst out laughing, right? And off go the shoes, and I walked back to the Maya Centre, what used to be the Maya Centre, now uptown girl, la 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 la, fucked up world. No, it doesn't say fucked up world, but anyway, it is a fucked up world. There's so many fuck ups, it's not funny. But anyway, I was really grateful for the sweetness and affection and kindness of my friend Scott. Yet again, my prince charming, my sweetheart, and Glenn as well, at the end of the night, because I was a little bit kind of triggered by having to swat that young Maori boy. And you know what? Maori men can be really fucking dangerous, okay? They can be very, very violent and dangerous. And I'm very conscious of that. So I was like, oh, I hope I haven't made a dangerous enemy. No, please punish me. You can punish me anytime you like, Tanya. Oh, dear goddess. I mean, how does this shit even happen to me? All I'm doing is dressing up, putting makeup on, having nice shoes on occasionally, a nice frock, and going dancing. I'm not there for the other horse shit. I realise it's a temptation to a man. They see a woman out dancing, living her best life, and they think, oh, right, I'm in. It's human nature. But it's not my agenda. It's just rude to assume that. I even said to him, don't assume. So anyway, so because I was a little bit triggered by having to actually slap someone quite hard, mind you, I'm like, oh, what the hell? But don't put your hands on me, boys. If I'm not inviting you, I even said to him, if I haven't invited you to touch me, don't fucking touch me. Because I'm done with the sexual assaults, I mean, putting your hand on your bottom isn't really a sexual assault, but it's bordering, it's crossing that boundary, right? So, I was just thinking, how would they feel? And I had a bikie friend she was a friend of a friend, really. Very unusual, interesting woman, Irish woman, who ran away and joined a bikie clubhouse when she was only about 13 or 14 because she came from such horrific abuse in her home. And so she was she'd done her apprenticeship of pain as a young bikie chick, as a teenage girl. You can only imagine what she had to subsume in her life, right? She was wild and fierce and amazing, and I was a bit in love with her. Not in love with her that I'm a lesbian or anything weird like that. Don't get the wrong idea. But I was in love with her mana, her power, her strength. And she was actually a psychic too, a very good psychic. And anyway, I was over at her place with our mutual friend, Gail. And we have to go and see Leisha, Tanya. I said, why are we going to see Leisha? She said, oh, you're going to love Leisha. Well, anyway, we went out dancing one night with Leisha, who did have an alcohol problem, okay? She was a bit of a raging alcoholic, I don't know whether it's the Irish thing or whether it was her trauma thing, but anyway, she did have a bit of a drinking problem. Oh, that's right, I remember where we were now. We went to the Greenbank. I used to lovingly call it Greenbank arseholes. Arsehole because, RSL, if you run RSL together, arsehole. Anyway, they weren't arseholes at Greenbank. They loved me. I used to have my own little spot there for many years, for about 10 years, until I left because I was getting weirded out because I actually used to get treated like a celebrity when I turned up. And the women would all scream and rush at me, and I was like, what are you doing? I'm not a celebrity. I'm not in the band. All I'm doing is dancing like a crazy person. But they did love me that much. They did love me that much in Greenbank, RSL, back in the, that would have been 2005, because it's when I hooked up with that idiot Courtney, isn't it? Who had a thing for Leisha as well. I think they had a thing together, to be honest. Anyway, Leisha was very cool about it when he and I got together. She actually encouraged it a little bit. Probably thought it'd be something nice for me, She was a very nice woman, really, in spite of all her wild ways. So, but this particular night we were up at the Greenbank, I nearly said Green Slopes, Greenbank RSL, and I was completely, in my tribal zone even then, dancing wildly. Gail was dancing wildly with me, and we were having a lovely time. And then we went to go to the bar, and Leisha she was so inappropriate, but it was actually funny. She treated men how men treat us. So they'd be all, looking at us lasciviously, and she'd be like, hi, baby, and she'd just reach over and she'd grab them right on their crotch. Like, she'd actually grab them and squeeze, and, oh, I'm going to fuck you at the end of the night, darling. And she was actually really frightening. And because men aren't used to women treating them how they treat us, right? They would decompensate in front of our faces. Like, they'd just about be screaming like girls. And Alicia would be like, yeah, come on, baby, come on. You've got it in there. Let's do it. And she'd be going off. And Gail, who was very English and very British and went to a private school and had her own issues actually, and could be a bit sadistic, quite frankly, I found out much later. But anyway, she would just stand there while Leisha's grabbing these men on their crotches and sexually harassing them to the hilt, to the very hilt, boys, to the very hilt. And she would, and I'd be like, I'd never seen anything like it, quite frankly. I'd be like, but I'm a lady, I can't believe I'm with these women, these wonderful wild women who have control over their own sexuality and know how to put men right back in their box, babies. So I'd be all like freaked out but kind of fascinated and a little bit turned on by her prowess and her courage. I was like, I want to be her when I grow up. Well, no, I don't. I don't want to go around grabbing men on crutches because it's not my bag. But I think I am a little bit more like her now that I'm older. But she was a fabulous chick. She really was a fabulous chick. And so she'd go out because she smoked. And she'd go out in the smoking thing. And I don't usually smoke because of my asthma. I'm not a smoker. But every now and then I feel like a cigarette, which is random and weird. It's part of my shamanic thing. So I'd go out with her. I said, can I bum a cigarette, Leisha? She goes, but you don't smoke. And I went, yeah, but the spirits demand I have a cigarette, so I'm having a cigarette. She goes, all right, well, what about your fucked up lungs? I said, well, my lungs were fucked up before I smoked and they'll be fucked up after I smoke. So one cigarette's not going to do anything, trust me. So she's like, oh, all right. She goes, you're a weird chick, Tanya. And I went, I know I'm a weird chick, but if you're not going to give me a cigarette, I'll bum one from someone else. It doesn't worry me, love. She goes, oh, here, have a cigarette then. So we're sitting there, we're smoking the cigarette. And she's like, the men are coming past and, you know, like, come over here, love. I'm going to have you at the end of the night. And we just like, and then run away. And she goes, that's how it's done, Tanya. That's how you do it. You just treat them how they treat us. She said, they can't handle it. It's hilarious. So we had a lot of fun with that. But you've got to have a certain kind of charisma built up and a certain kind of persona before you can actually do that safely, you know. She got kicked out a few times. There's one guy got too fresh with her, so she headbutted him, she just literally went, bang! And I was like, oh dear goddess, who are these people I'm hanging out with, right? I was a bit shocked. But then I said to her later, what was that about? She said, you had it coming. I went, okay, I don't question that. You're in charge of your own life, my Leisha. She said, damn straight, girlfriend. So anyway, but occasionally she'd get booted out because even the security guards were a bit scared of her, quite frankly. And she was the woman the night I met Courtney. That was kind of an arranged, set up, fucking blind date, wasn't it? I was so naive. I fell right into that fucking hole, that abyss. But anyway, Gail and Leisha had taken me over to Courtney's, and they said, "Oh, we're just gonna ask him something or whatever," and they just dragged me along, and I didn't realise it was a setup to meet him. Till later, I realised later, I was like, that was really manipulative and conniving how they did that. They should have said, Tanya, we're going to introduce you to a guy that we think will be nice for you, and put on a nice frock, and, you know, or let's meet up in a neutral territory at a club or something. But the way they did it, it was like I was basically made like a sacrificial offering, like a lamb to the slaughter, right? But in those days, I was actually quite lonely and quite horny. So, you know, the magic happened, didn't it? Shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. I ended up in a 5-year relationship with that fucking parasite. But anyway, never mind. It is what it is. But so that first night when we met the courtmeister, I used to call him the courtmeister, was being sarcastic because he thought he was the master of me, and no man's my master, no man. So anyway, so we were driving home from his place, and the three of us were stoned off our chops. It was the longest drive from Cooper's Plains to Holland Park I've ever had. Mind you, we had to drop Leisha home at Sherwood first, so we did it was a longer drive. Dropped her and came back to my place. I said to Gail, that was the longest drive at 40 kilometres per hour on the highway I have ever experienced. I said, time slowed right down. She says, oh, you're stoned, Tanya. I went, how can I be freaking stoned? Only had a little puff, you know. Anyway, she says, oh, Courtney smokes really heavy shit. And she said, probably hasn't really agreed with you, your psych meds and everything. I was like, well, why'd you let me do that, Gail? She said, because it's good for you to get real and experience real life finally. But at that stage, I was 40 years old, right? So I was like, all right, that's good for me. We'll go with that. 40-year-old with my, well, he became my, was he my fourth or my fifth boyfriend that I'd ever had in my entire life? Let me just think. Fifth sexual partner I'd ever had in my life. And then Gail said to me, you're a very high status woman, Tanya. I said, oh yeah, why is that? She said, because you're not an onion. You haven't been slept in all night by everybody and everything. And in the bikie culture, you're considered very, very high status indeed. She said, almost as close as to getting a virgin as you can get. She said, because you're still so fucking naive and innocent and you haven't had a lot of sexual experience, so you're highly, highly desired. I was like, well, that's a bit fucked up and disturbing, isn't it? That's a bit twisted. And she said, oh, no, that's a mark of honour, a real mark of honour. And, I found that to be true. I was treated in that subculture very honorifically, very highly regarded and respected. So sometimes in life you stumble into your niche or your little tribe that you didn't even know was your tribe, and you find out the people that truly love and honour you, right? So it was a shame when that went bad eventually, that whole thing. But yes, Leisha, Irish Leisha, that would just go up and grab men. Oh, I tell you what, she was an empowered woman and fearless and brave and funny. But, oh, yeah, this is what I wanted to tell you. I forgot. I digressed. I'm a little bit tired, can you tell? So so we left meeting the courtmeister at his place in Cooper's Plain, driving home in the car. And in those days, I always wore a beautiful gold engraved bangle that actually my pedophile godfather had bought for me when I was only 9 years old. And I always wore it everywhere I went. I wore that gold bangle. And so Gail was driving and I was in the back seat with Leisha. And as I say to you, Leisha was very psychic. So Leisha's looking at my bracelet, and I thought she was jealous of my gold bracelet, because people can be like that. They can be petty and vicious and envious and just fucking crass and revolting. You know, I've had so much envious people in my life that I thought were friends or lovers that they were envy of a pair of fucking earrings, or envy of my talents, or envy of my ability to get back on my feet after being knocked down every time. They were envious of my mana. They were envious of a car. They were envious of my 2 front teeth. They were envious if a man showed me any attention and I actually responded in kind. The envy that I have had to endure in the last 13 years, even out in the scene, has been acrid and evil and astonishing, you know. So she's looking at my bracelet, and she said, who bought you that? She says to me. I said, my pedophile godfather when I was 9. Why are you still wearing it? I said, it's gold and it's mine and I've always worn it. She said, give that to me, let me have a look at it. And I very nonchalantly unclasped it and gave it to her. She's studying it. She's turning it over and looking at it and studying it. And she turns to me. I'll never forget this. My blood still runs cold when I think about this memory. She turns to me and she says, you don't need to keep that energy on you or with you anymore, Tanya. It's time to let it go. I said, it's my bracelet, it's mine. I earned it on the coalface with abusive family. I said, that's my bracelet. I don't need to let go of anything if I don't want to. And she said, no, she said, you're a slave no more to those monsters. And she just flicked it out the window on the highway, like coming back from, where were we? I can tell you exactly where we were. We were near the intersection where you turn in to go towards Sherwood on that main highway. And there's my gold bracelet thrown out the window. And because I don't like parting with my gold and my precious things, especially something that I've cherished I didn't cherish the pedophile, but I did cherish the bracelet. So I even remember where he bought it for me. It was up in Auckland, actually. So, it's complicated. It's complicated with family members, how you can have that level of love and kind of a bond. And it is slavery, actually. It is a sick kind of enslavement. So Leisha was completely right. So, but I flew into a rage. I said, what the fuck did you do that for? I said, Gail, stop the car and pull over. I'm going back to get that bracelet. It was a bangle, actually. I'm going to buy myself a lovely one again one day, just out of principle, because it'll be fresh energy that I have bought for myself. It won't have any connotations or associations with that animal from my family of origin, and it'll be mine, but it'll be fresh energy and replace my gold that's been stolen or taken from me over the years by people who meant well. And in that instance, Leisha did mean well. But I've lost too much to people's interferences and judgments and viciousness and envy, right? So anyway, one day I'll get my gold back, she says, tongue in cheek, because it'll probably never happen now. It's too late. I lost too much. But anyway, so I said, stop the car, Gail. I'm going back to get it. And Gail said, no, we're not stopping the car and you're not going back to get it. And she said, you're going to let that go, Tanya. You're going to let go of all attachments to your filthy childhood that are not good for your soul and not for your highest good. And you're going to let it go and you are going to heal. Gail, by the way, was a forensic psychiatric nurse who knew something about psychiatry and healing, you know. And Leisha knew something about it by virtue of her path, her life walk as a bona fide bikey chick with the gypsy jokers, right? She knew about life. 101, earnt and learnt on the cold face. So I sat there seething with fucking rage about some chick chucking my gold out the window on the highway. And I seethed with rage about that for quite a few days, actually. And I said, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't decide for me what's good for me. I decide what's good for me, no one else. You know, and gold is gold, by the way. I said, in a war I could have bought a loaf of bread with that. She said, yeah, I know, but it's the energy. It's the energy that's attached to it. She said, it's filthy and it's sordid and it's not yours and you don't have to own or accept that anymore. And then I kind of looked at her, with Gail's still driving, and by the way, I'm a little bit homicidal because my gold's just been stripped off me, and I don't like that. And I looked at her and I got it. I finally got it, and I went, okay. And nothing more was said, and Gail dropped Leisha off and then dropped me home. And I sat there and I stewed over it for 3 days, and I thought, yes, I don't have to own that history with my family of origin, with the abusers anymore. And unfortunately, it didn't work out quite so well that way, because I got involved with the courtmaster, and he was yet another abuser over time, because they're all lovely and charming in the beginning, aren't they? So that devolved into another fucking hellscape. But since that relationship ended, and just he abandoned me really 6 months after my mother died, when I was really mentally fucked up. Because your mother is your mother, even if she's your primordial monster, right? And I really went into a steep devolution of despair and horror, and then I had to navigate the awful will dispute for 2.5 years, which was like being tortured on a daily basis, and I mean really emotionally tortured. And then after that, I still had people who were envious of me because I got a car from that will dispute. My only inheritance really that I was left with was the car and new teeth. And people in the club scene, in the casino, and the Elephant and Irish Murphys were so spiteful and vicious. Tanya's on a disability pension, and she's driving around in a brand new car. That's how they used to talk to me. And I go, fuck off, I fought for that car, it's mine. I fought for it like a wild animal. That is my car. I don't owe any explanations to anyone. Does anyone else explain to you about why they have a house or a car or a loving husband or something else you're jealous of? So I don't owe you any explanations. Fuck off. Anyway, that was that Lana creature. Another creature I hope rots in hell. But anyway, so there's the story, you see. Letting go of the gold bangle and the wild bikey women that return the sexual harassment in kind, how it should be. Put your hand on my ass. But anyway, apart from that, I had a lovely time. So I'm already an hour and 1 minute talking about that, and I still need to do my reading. How long is this reading? Because I might have to just make another video. It's just too much. Last one was 3 hours. Oh, Jesus, this is going to be a long one. Oh well, I'm here now. Let's do it, babies. I won't shrink from my own inadequacies and few vulnerabilities. We're on this journey together, you, my beautiful YouTube subscribers. Some of you probably sit jerking off with Schadenfreude at my lifetime of trauma and misery and get off, and I'm well aware of that. But that's okay. That's on you, babies. My truth is more powerful and more potent and more spiritual and more healing than you are worthy of. And I'm okay with that. So, here we have Memories, 18th of November 2023. Consider yourself grabbed right on the crutch and squeezed a little, boys. Lisha, wherefore art thou, Lisha? I'm channeling Lisha. Oh my goodness. You have to laugh, darlings, because life's funny and weird and sometimes quite delightful. I'm just going to grab a glass of water before we start because my voice is already closing over. I know. Frickin' Quando, when will you be mine? That was spirit being cheeky, wasn't it? The spirits know how to play with my fragile little mind. But as I say, I play back too. The I and the thou, babies. The I and the fucking thou. They won't let me out of this hell loop. They wouldn't let me have prosperity and a loving man I did have a little bit of prosperity when I was young, but I didn't have a loving man. So there is that. But I've got loving men in my life now, like my beautiful Scott and my beautiful security guard who has my back, and my beautiful Taylor, and who else do I have? I have lots of love in my life, people, even though I'm a crazy chickie from way back. Not that crazy. Just attuned to the multiverses. Anyway, fillings. They were done in May. I got a private voucher for a very expensive, very exclusive private dentist who was an amazing woman. Amazing woman. She wants to be a jeweller when she retires from dentistry, so we bonded over that. I admired all her jewellery that she had on display in her little clinic, you know, in the little shadow boxes. And she used state-of-the-art equipment, but you know what? My teeth still fucking hurt. It's not because of her. I'm sure it's not. She didn't do an inadequate job. She did a very good job. She did 3 teeth in one go, though. It was agonising. But every now and then they still hurt, so. But that's me. That's my nervous system. I'll blame it on myself. Oh, Charlie, you want your drink here? You want to drink Mummy's water? What are you doing? You can't have smart M&Ms. They're not for birds. She's having a drink. Today's offerings from the multiverse, channeled through the Tanya, are gifted to you, YouTube, for our edification and for our shared humanity, and for the women that watch me, our female mystique and our overcoming trauma and our gifts literally from the gods. Bestowed upon us by feckless, bloodless, weak, inadequate, cruel, sadistic men. We are gifted because we have overcome, babies. So, the title today is From Broken Cars to Broken Minds. The celebration accumulated into exhaustion and stalking. But then COVID came, and you know, my cocoon on paradise is not so bad. Preferable, actually. No, you can't climb all over the laptop. You'll go back in your cage, Charlie. No lollies for you. No. And here we have a photo, because I'm a bit macabre like that, of Socks, who brought me a present one night of a dead rat. Can you see the rat? Look at that dirty rat. I do feel sorry for the rat, though. He didn't stand a hope in Hades with my Socksy boy. Just like men who play games with my emotions and tease me don't stand a hope in Hades. Young Marimi putting their hands on my bottom. Chutzpah. Could be my son too. Is my daughter's. What is wrong with men these days? Have you all? Is it because of this? Have you all lost your mind? It was bad before then, but it's got worse. I swear to God. Everyone wants their mother. I'm not your mother. My own kids don't want me to be their mother. So what hope have you got? Jesus. 18th of November 2021. I was just sitting in my garden having had my breakfast. A young man just walked by with this cute little Bichon Frise or Maltese looking dog. Bobo went up to the fence line and did not bark. The man said, "Oh, hello you," paused, then walked down a bit further and turned and looked at me. I looked right back at him in astonishment. He looked a lot like David Davidson. Could have been his son. My blood started to freeze in my veins, but in characteristic warrior goddess style, I gave him my enigmatic smile. Not too warm and engaging, but friendly enough to stave off most enemies. And the most astonishing thing of all was that Bobo didn't bark at him and his little dog, because he barked at everybody, right? So that's what threw me for the loop the most. I have my coral pink maxi dress on with my layers of coral and freshwater pearl necklaces. So perhaps he just stopped to admire my regalia. Oh, my nose is always itchy. It's driving me nuts. How weird would it be if it were Davidson's son and he lives near me? But surely not. It was still quite weird, however. I am being put on notice by the multiverses. Expect the unexpected today. What are you doing, Charlie? Look, just stop being full of mischief and come over here. Come over here, my darling. Come. 18th of November 2020. Today has been agonising. I stuffed up the grouting of the table. It dried too fast and I only covered 2/3 of the table. Then I spent until just now, 6:45 p.m. Stop that, Charlie. Scraping the excess grout off the top of the tiles. In between, I managed to go get a blood test and then go back to the pathology with a stool sample. Oh, gross. Oh, what a memory that is. Oh. Then straight back to scratching and scraping my table. I did not stop working on it even when the new lawnmower man arrived to do the mowing around 4:30 p.m. And he was a weirdo. He was checking out my ass. I was like, you're here to fucking mow the lawns, not check out my ass. So he had to go too. Honestly. The amount of trouble I had getting lawnmower men here that were creepy and sexually inappropriate and lascivious. I had about 10 of them in a row coming here. I must say the men that come now, the nice Muslim men that sent by the Islamic Women's Association, they're very respectful. They're also a little bit frightened of me, but I like that. I'd rather they're frightened of me and respectful than freaking lascivious and disgusting like I had for years. With one of the lawnmower men was actually, I should have reported him to the police. He was that freaking creepy. Anyway, never mind. Life goes on. Charlie, what have you done? You've upset the whole screen here. I know. Are you trying to sabotage Mama in her one avenue of success? Are you trying to prevent me from speaking my truth and living my best life, Charlie? Are you trying to stymie me? You are. You is a pretty bird. You is a pretty birdie. Hang on, yeah, because you've upset the whole sidebar and now I don't know where we are. Where were we? Crikey. We weren't there. We're not there yet. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Sorry about that. Birdies happen, don't they, Charlie? I did not stop working on it even when the new lawnmower man arrived to do the mowing around 4:30 p.m. I was already beyond exhausted, but feared stopping, as the grout will only get harder. It cures over 7 days, so my beautiful artwork is still not finished. I still have to grout the rest of the table tomorrow. It's starting to give me a nervous breakdown, but I think it won't be as bad. I will use less grout and hope for a better outcome tomorrow. See how hard I try without having been taught by anyone, just finding my way in life, stumbling in the dark like a dumb motherfucker that I am. But I'm intrepid. I keep trying. Got to give me credit for that, people. There's people out there in the world, in the real world, hate my guts. They don't know how hard it is for me to just get up every day and keep trying, like everyone else on the planet has to do. It doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. You just got to keep trying. Just keep going. Just keep moving forward after every disappointment and betrayal and setup and treachery and sadistic hot mess. You know, get back out in the world and you got to keep trying. And when the two young men, too passionate, too wild, stick their hand on your ass, you got to just slather them one, put them back in their place, and keep going. It's what you have to do. We're living in a world of barbarism where by and large men have no respect or honour left because they're dogs. You just keep going. Don't let it get to you. I'm not letting it get to me, by the way. I had a nice cuddle at the end of the night with my Scott and a little kiss on his cheek. And I've got nice, loving men in my life, and that I'm satisfied with that. Oh, and I got a massive sunburn, which is totally reckless given my skin already is staving off skin cancers. But I was so focused on my table that I had no time for anything else, because I get hyper-focused when I'm doing an art project or making jewellery or whatever I'm doing. Even these YouTube videos, that the whole world could just burn around me. I wouldn't even notice because I'm hyper-focused, you know. I have been deeply humiliated by certain charities. Fuck them. Life goes on, and I am blessed with the kindness of good, decent people. That is more than enough. I am deeply grateful. That was in response, in 2020 I wrote that, in response to a memory I posted in 2013, which says, it's funny how Facebook sometimes triggers certain emotions and memories. I wondered if it was deliberate at one point in time. Charity never humiliated him who profited from it, nor ever bound him by the chains of gratitude, since it was not to him, but to God that the gift was made. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who wrote Le Petit Prince, The Little Prince, which is a wonderful book, by the way, absolutely wonderful story. And here we have the photograph, 4 children for sale, inquire within. During the Great Depression in America, where people were literally starving and were selling off their children. Imagine that, selling off their children. Jesus. And I think I had problems. I would have been better if my fucking filthy parents had sold me off to someone kind and decent, no. But I hate to think what outcome I would have ended up with instead. Never mind. 25 years of therapy. I can handle my own shit now. So don't bring shit to my door, because I don't want to have to handle yours. I've got enough of my own. But the weak and inadequate see me and they just think that I'm like, I don't know, they think I have a messiah complex or something. Think I'm going to save them. Who will save your souls? if you can't save your own, right? It's right there in the lyrics. I sang it to you all. Who will save your souls if you can't save your own? In other words, every man, woman and child for themselves to take responsibility for their own healing and their own growth and their own potentiates and their own heart, and their own soul and their own love, with harm to none, competition with none, being open and honest and heartfelt and authentic and genuine. My little Charlie, just like Charlie. Are you heartfelt and open and honest and authentic and genuine, Charlie? She's in a weird mood today. You're in a weird mood today, Charlie. It's because I was busy yesterday. 18th of November 2019. I almost feel breathless and utterly amazed at the exponential healing I have received in recent weeks. Now this was June, 5 months after my near-death experience when I nearly died having that gallbladder surgery, right? I covered a lot of ground in those 5 months. I hit the ground running because I knew the gods had set me back against my own will, and so I better start fucking figuring this life out and making something of myself. And here we are 4 years later, and I'm still on that groove, still trying to figure it all out and make something of myself. And I'm still trying. And I'm still enjoying the journey, by the way. Richard Marler's shamanic healing last Sunday was amazing too. Then the absolute magical healing at Ecstatic Dance, which truly was a free-flowing, multifaceted healing, as I was also actively healing others that night, although not quite consciously aware of what was going on. Beautiful. It's been a beautiful few weeks. Sophie was feeling good today. That's one of my cats. She even went outside for a while. She was quite interactive with me, which is also unusual. Yeah, because the poor little darling knew she was dying. She knew she was on her way out. Magic is happening chez moi. Chez moi is French for at my place. And love, so much love from unexpected sources. And that would have been agape love, since I didn't have a partner in those days either. Blessed be the Holy One and his limitless love and fierce protection. Grateful, happy woman here. I wrote a letter to Angela, that's my half-sister Angela. Never mind. I wrote a letter to Angela's father when I was 9 years old. I had obviously been lied to about going to Australia for 6 months. We lived in Melbourne with Case for 3.5 years until I begged my mother and Case to return to New Zealand for my high schooling. Painful the mention of Trevor and the teddy bear. I still have that teddy bear, Jesus. I burnt it in 2020, I believe. There's an entire video on that. The burning of the pedophile's gift, the teddy bear. So here's my letter in my sweet little childish 9-year-old writing. I'll read it out to you. 15th of May, Wednesday. To Mr. Peter, Mrs. Peter, Heidi, Sonny and Dougie. I had met them all, the previous year when we went to Germany, right? So I actually knew them in person, had a relationship with them based on I'd actually met them. They weren't just strangers out in the void on the internet. You know, they were real to me. I've had a very nice trip from Germany. We passed many ports. On the ship, it was neat fun, but it was very dirty. That was the Alanis coming back when my mother nearly died on board ship with a very bad asthma attack. She was actually in the ship's clinic for the rest of the journey, about 3 weeks. Tomorrow, me and Mum are going to Australia for 6 months. We are going on a ship called the Patrice. When we get to Australia, I will write to you all again. Angela got a kitten from the SPCA. He's ginger and white and has smoky eyes, and his lips and nose are rosy. I really loved cats even as a child. He's also very, very affectionate, spelt AFFECTIONET. Not bad for a 9-year-old. And he likes sitting on my shoulder. Did you hear that, Charlie? I used to have a ginger kitten sitting on my shoulder. Last night I stayed the night at Angela's, who's probably the person that insisted I write this letter, right? At Angela's flat. How is good old Caspar? Is he all right? Mummy's friend, Uncle Trevor, bought me a big teddy bear as a going away present. I am writing this letter at Angela's house because I am still there and want to write. The kitten keeps on coming on the table and biting the end of my pen. Also, while I was writing before, he hopped on the table and sat on my piece of paper, so I had to put him on my shoulder. Now it's in my way again, nibbling at my pen. It's always sitting on my piece of paper. Marika, that's my niece, who was only, I was 6 years old when she was born, so she's only 6 years younger than I. Marika is in bed now. For Christmas, I got lots of, would be presents, and I didn't post the rest of that letter for whatever reason. Update, 18th of November 2020. I burnt Teddy on 27th of April 2020. I symbolically cut ties to that abuser at last. And as we discussed earlier, my beautiful gold engraved bangle had been chucked out the window in October, I think it was, when I met Courtney, 2005. So 15 more years it took me to burn the last thing that was an identifier and a connection to Trevor Singh. So it's been a long, slow process, really, hasn't it? Catharsis. We are the generation that went mad to heal ourselves. We will overcome again and again, for we have love, insight, resilience, and honour. I just got a message back from Heidi. She has letters to send me that my mother wrote to her father over the years. She didn't end up sending those to me, which I'm a bit disappointed about, actually. She probably sent them to Angela, since he was, after all, their father, you know. Also a letter I wrote as a child. I said I would like the one I wrote. It will be deeply painful to go over old ground again, but such is my life. Literally like ripping off a Band-Aid and healing again and ripping. It's been decades of torture, people. It really has. I suppose the letter I wrote as a child will be quite sweet, if not dictated by Gisela. A lot of my childish letters I got back from my friend Margaret, you could clearly see my mother was dictating them, telling me what to write. Like, she even fucking controlled my little tiny childhood friendships. Like, it was evil what went on. It really was. I don't remember writing to him. Mum had me write often to Auntie Lottie. Auntie Lottie was her best friend. But that was because she absolutely lavished us in expensive gifts from Germany. China, crystal, jewellery, and tailored German clothing for me, which of course looked very strange to New Zealand and Australian children, so mostly got me beaten up at school. Ah well, I will look at my letter as a tiny bit of soul retrieval. Her father Hans treated me with decency and kindness, which was a rarity during my childhood, so it might be a precious souvenir after all. Not really, just another ripped off Band-Aid. 18th of November 2018. Tame her, they said. Tame her, for she is a Mustang Quay. Wild horsewoman, yes. In the Ojibwa tribe, I was recognized as a Mustang woman, wild and free. But I will not be tamed. I run with the wolves. I gallop with the Mustang. I fly with the eagles. Tame her, so she will know love, they say. But love will only come to me when he has proven himself safe, loyal, and true, authentic, loving, and chooses me and only me. I will not be tamed, for I am hewn from the rock of ages that is weathered by time and the misbegotten atrocities of our epoch. I am anointed and edified by ancient moribund griefs, and the worst grief of all was grieving for one still alive. But in the way of all trickster gods, he comes to stare and mock, and thinks in his ignorant folly that this little dolly will melt like butter on his gristled, pernicious dick. Ah, but no. Ancient gods decreed my fate long before I was implanted into a womb that succored no love for her own children, spurned and spawned in the greasy, precarious childhood of adversity. But who am I to go against the gods? The wise ones sit and plutz with twinkles in their eyes, gleaming from distant stars in our Milky Way. Well, I am not here for your entertainment, full of artifice and capricious tests of faith and life chi. I raise my fist to the gods, and down they cast a hailstorm of laughter and merriment. That's my girl, Mama T, the Tanya, the desired one, flawlessly fierce and frigidly fragile. Watch her rise and shine and dance the dance of oblivion. By Joves, by Odin, by Adonai and the Shekhinah. We think she has got it. What have I got? Really? Dunno, but watch this space in the ever-glitching matrix in a certain reality. I am riding my own chariot, being tongue-kissed by too many scattered soul remnants of Judas Iscariot. Not even my religion, but give me a little poetic license. Well, next time that roiling epiglottis wants to lick my tonsils with its fakery, remind me, someone, to bite out his false and fickle, filthy tongue and spit it where the dogs of hell can at least devour it. And I kind of have to laugh because my young Māori new acquaintance last night asked me to kiss him too. I just looked at him. That won't be happening. I mean, the nerve of it. They don't even know me and they're expecting me to slather all over them. It's disgusting, really. Anyway, no harm, no foul. He got put in his place. He got well and truly put in his place. My cousin, my Māori cousin's ancient ancestors who were chiefs of the what tribe was it now? I forget, but way up in Northland, top of Auckland. They stood with me last night when young one was feeling his oats. I could feel them. When he hugged me, it was an innocent enough hug actually. It lasted 6 seconds. I counted. 6. He got 6 seconds of my full warrior goddess mana. And the really intense thing about it was he had me in a firm embrace and I held him in a firm embrace too. I matched his energy. And I got a bit freaked out because in my mind's eye came the symbol of a big fucking Christian cross, as if our arms were outstretched, right?